Lights up on AT&T Stadium. Monday night, packed house, you can taste the expectation. The Cowboys walk out like they've got the script memorized, score early, lean on the defense, and let the offense do the heavy lifting. Instead, the plot flips. Dallas's offense disappears for most of the game, and Arizona, without Kyler Murray, walks off with a 27-17 win that leaves more questions than answers. Reuters. From the jump, you could feel the momentum slip through Dallas' fingers. They drove into Arizona territory on the opening series and came up empty after a dropped third down pass and a fourth down sack. That early failure set a tone, methodical movement with no finishing. The only thing that kept them alive before the fourth quarter was special teams. A blocked punt recovered for a touchdown that felt like a Band-Aid on a deeper wound. DallasCowboys.com, Arizona's offense felt oddly in rhythm despite missing its starter. Jacoby Brissett, stepping in for Kyler Murray, calmly carved up the Dallas defense with short, efficient strikes and timely third down conversions. Marvin Harrison Jr. was a constant, converting long third downs and hauling in the game's first touchdown. Then Trey McBride added a second-half score that pushed the gap to a place Dallas couldn't climb out of. Brissett's steady hand turned a team that had been sliding into a disciplined, confident unit. Reuters. There's a cruel kind of comedy in how the Cowboys self-sabotaged. Penalties, stalled red zone drives, and that 4th and 4 stop early in the fourth quarter when Dak Prescott's pass to CeeDee Lamb was batted down, those moments looked small in isolation but gigantic in aggregate. Dallas moved the ball at times, but execution in the clutch evaporated. In a season where they've often relied on outscoring opponents, tonight's offense simply didn't show up. CBS Sports, the defense didn't save them. Arizona finished drives, punched in the points, and took advantage of Dallas's missed opportunities. The Cardinals' front and coverage made enough plays to force turnovers and stall the Cowboys just when they looked like they might answer. Football is a game of micro decisions. When enough of them go against you, a missed tackle here, a refusal on fourth down there, the scoreboard becomes unapologetic. Reuters, there's a bigger picture hiding inside this loss: identity. The Cowboys have built their season around an offensive-first philosophy, expecting the defense to make a few critical stops. But what happens when the offense dries up and the defense isn't in lockdown mode? You get a game like this: flashy mistakes, bad timing, and a feeling that the team is playing catch-up to its own narrative. That's not just one loss. It's a crack in the blueprint. DallasCowboys.com. For Arizona, the win is a Sunday night lifeline. The Cardinals were on a skid, and Brissett's composure gave them a reset. Jonathan Gannon will say Kyler Murray remains the starter when healthy, and the franchise will circle that as policy. But Brissett's performance raises real questions about momentum and continuity. When a backup plays with kind of calm, coaches and fans start to wonder what comes next. Reuters, back in Dallas, the locker room will feel heavy. A 3-5-1 record is not where you expect to be when the offseason goals were loftier. The players will point to missed opportunities. That blocked punt kept them in it briefly. Prescott's late push produced a fourth quarter touchdown, but turnovers and breakdowns stung. These are the kinds of losses that linger. You don't just lose the scoreboard, you lose a little piece of conviction, and that's harder to rebuild. ESPN.com. Now, let's talk about the human parts of this game. Dak Prescott is a pro who's built a reputation on leading comebacks. Tonight he tried, drove them down the field, but the ball popped loose at the worst time and an interception salted the ends. You can see why frustration bubbles up. The plays that define a season don't always look dramatic in the moment. They look like a thin margin of execution. For the receivers, for the offensive line, for the coaches, this one will sting because it felt within reach. DallasCowboys.com, and for Arizona, there's a confidence that can't be measured by stats alone. A win like this breeds belief. It says, regardless of injuries and headlines, we can execute on Monday night in a hostile stadium and walk out with a result. That kind of resilience is contagious. Brissett didn't dazzle with heroics. He did the quiet work, and in the end, that was the difference. Reuters. So where do the Cowboys go from here? Fixing an offense that sputters in critical moments is equal parts schematic adjustment and psychological reset. They'll watch the tape, clear up the mental errors, and hope the bye gives them space to rebuild confidence. If they don't, the season tilts toward a slow bleed into mediocrity. For a franchise used to higher stakes, that's a scenario with real consequences. The Cardinals, meanwhile, get to enjoy the sweet ache of an upset and the quieter work of building continuity. Whether Kyler returns next week or later, tonight showed that the team can win when parts have to shift. That's valuable. In the end, football is a story of margins. One drop pass, one batted ball on fourth down, one blocked punt swung the tone of the night. Tonight, the margin favored Arizona. The Cowboys left the field not because they were outplayed across every metric, but because they were out-executed when the score demanded precision. That's the kind of loss that teaches hard lessons, and if Dallas wants to salvage a season, they'll need to learn fast. You ever sit through a game where everything feels like it's supposed to be simple? The script, the matchup, the expectations, and then by halftime the theater's been flipped and you're watching a different play altogether? Monday night lived in that exact bruised headspace for Dallas. The final looked neat on paper. Arizona 27, Dallas 17, but what happened underneath the numbers was a team that forgot how to finish and an opponent who remembered how to fight. Reuters. Here's the clean picture. Jacoby Brissett, filling in while Kyler Murray rehabs a foot, walked in, threw darts, and did exactly what you want a veteran to do in a spot like this. Steady the ship and punish mistakes. He went 21 of 31 for 261 yards and 2 passing touchdowns, and he managed rhythm when the Cowboys couldn't find theirs. Marvin Harrison Jr. was a problem from snap one. 7 catches for 96 yards and a touchdown. And the Cardinals used those little edges to flip field position into real points. When backups play like starters, you notice. Reuters. If you're a Cowboys fan, the nightmare reel is short and ugly. Long, promising drives that end with nothing, turnovers at the worst times, and a red zone malaise that turned marches into whiffs. Dallas moved the chains enough to look like it could get things done, but long drives without touchdowns are soul-crushing. The only offensive TD they could claim before garbage time came via special teams, a blocked punt recovery in the end zone, which tells you everything about how the night felt. When your offense can only score because someone else blocked a kick, that's an identity problem. Sky Sports. Let's talk sequence. Dallas opened with a drive that got to the doorstep, then stalled. The fourth down call, the sack, the dropped catch, those are the micro decisions that become the macro loss. In the third quarter, the Cardinals struck quick scoring drives that took the air out of the stadium and the confidence out of the Cowboys. Trey McBride's touchdown and Marvin Harrison's early score weren't just plays, they were tone setters. Arizona didn't need to out-athlete Dallas on every snap. They needed to be cleaner, smarter, and more opportunistic, and they were. ESPN.com Dak Prescott finished with a respectable-looking line on the stat sheet, yards a TD, but that number hides the rhythm he lacked. The big difference was timing. Receivers who were late, protection that wasn't consistent, and an interception late that killed a final push. Prescott can't manufacture timing by force. He needs the cadence, the pocket, and the roots to sync. Against a Cardinals defense that played with leverage and discipline, the Cowboys' usual quick strike mojo got muffled. Fox Sports Smarts. There's an old coaching phrase, don't lose the thing you're best at. For Dallas this season, that's been offensive production. When that disappears, and Monday night it largely did, everything else gets exposed. The defense can only do so much if the offense gives up long drives or turns the ball over in its own territory. Arizona's strategy was simple, make the Cowboys earn every inch and then take advantage when mistakes happen. They executed it beautifully. NFL.com. Now to the noise around Kyler Murray. The Cardinals coach was careful to say Murray remains the starter when healthy, and the Brissett is playing well storyline is more about depth showing up than a full-blown quarterback controversy. But the optics are obvious. When your backup looks that comfortable and your starter is still on the mend, the argument about who's in for the long run always sneaks back into the conversation. For Arizona, for now, it's a win and worry balance. Win the game, manage the injury, and hope the healing goes as planned. Reuters. Let's get practical about what Dallas must fix, and fast. 1. Red zone execution. Stop turning 14-play drives into 3 points. 2. Ball security. Turnovers at clutch moments kill comeback chances. 3. Timing and protection. The offensive line and route precision must improve so Prescott can play to his strengths. Fix those 3, and you get the Dallas team that still looked like a juggernaut in stretches this year. Ignore them, and this 3-5-1 record fans are staring at soon becomes a full season of what-ifs. DallasCowboys.com. For Arizona, this feels like the kind of night that rebuilds confidence. You beat a top-tier opponent on the road, you do it with a backup who commands the huddle, and your young receivers show up in big moments. That's the scaffolding of traction. The Cardinals snapped a 5-game skid and reminded the league they can be a problem when they play fast and smart. It's not the moonshot season flip, but it does buy the coaching staff a little more trust and gives the roster a shot of belief. Reuters. There's also the human detail we can't ignore. Fans watching Monday saw 2 very different kinds of poise. Arizona's players looked comfortable and patient. Dallas's players looked rushed and frustrated. Those micro gestures, a dropped head after a failed 4th down, a glance to the sideline after a miscommunication, are what snowball into locker room tension. Coaches will use the tape this week not just to correct X's and O's, but to get the team's body language back in check. Momentum, after all, is emotional long before it's statistical. Fox Sports. If you're building a short montage for a highlight package, start with Brissett's early poise. Cut to Marvin Harrison's crisp route that ties up Dayron Bland. Show the Cowboys grinding but coming up empty in the red zone. Then hit the blocked punt, the only bright offensive flair, and finish with the Cardinals piling on another touchdown to seal the night. That edit tells the story without commentary. Control, opportunity, and collapse. Sky Sports' final thought: the NFL is brutal because it punishes small sins at the speed of light. Monday's loss is not the end for Dallas, it's a fork in the road. Clean up fundamentals and there's still a season to play for. Ignore the fixes, and the tape from AT&T Stadium will be the exhibit people show when they talk about a season that slipped away. For fans who stayed up late, keep the receipts. For the team, keep the work. Football is a ledger of tiny, repeatable actions. Win the little things again, and the big things come back with surprising speed. Reuters.